Okay, so actually, yes, I'm not an expert in text analytics. I'm industrial based, I'm running a company, medical device, and I'm mandated by the CTI, mandated as a innovation mentor, helping companies to access universities and helping access fundings, money from CTI. But let me just a little more systematically jump into it. The Commission of Technology and Innovation has three pillars. One is know-how and technology transfer, making visible what's being developed or researched at the universities, and backwards, what is the needs of the industry. The second is startup help, startup companies. No fundings, the CTI will not put money into startup companies, and the third pillar is the R&D fundings. There, before a project comes into the competition, they can spend money with the universities. So that's the three pillars. But let's jump in a little more systematically. A little on the mandate. The CTI has been put in place by the Confederation. What is the philosophy and the facts? Whoops, there was one too much. Yeah, okay. We all know the story of the strong Swiss franc, the small Switzerland, and being competitive abroad. So actually the key out of this slide is we need to have products with a USP, with a US proposition, so that we can be competitive abroad. That is the key of the whole thing, and the CTI wants you, the companies, the universities, to be successful. So that's a slide from the CTI, and it's clear Switzerland is one of the most innovative countries. That is common sense almost, but we need to do something that it remains as it is. And that's the aim of the CTI. They want to support companies and universities. So many companies do their own research. We have basic solid research on the other side in the universities, and we need to bring this together. There is lots of patents. If you see the patent index, Switzerland is somewhere also in the top. On the other hand, we have not enough engineers, and I say this as being member of the economic promotion in the canton of Schaffhausen, close to the border. We there have a lot of missing engineers, and all over Switzerland it's about the same. There is, and that's again a slide from the CTI, very little innovation in service industries. I don't want to comment on that here, but just make your own thoughts about it. Then where we are really weak is in the entrepreneurship. If you compare, for instance, the US, where somebody tries to start a company, he fails, he loses money, hopefully not only his own, sometimes also others. If somebody does this in Switzerland, he lost his credit almost for his whole lifetime. Completely different. And there is CTI helping startups, helping companies to be successful. And then little knowledge and technology transfer between the universities and the SMEs, especially SMEs. That's where we are going to jump in. And that's the three pillars again. It's the mandate for the CTI, fostering the transfer of knowledge between companies and universities, then giving support to startups, and a lot of cooperation projects where companies and universities work together, and that's then where fundings can be risen. The principles of the mission is especially universities of applied sciences today, they do a lot of their business in the industry. They don't have fundings from the Confederation, or probably the rest. They need to do with, for instance, also projects. Then it is the bottom up that the SMEs, the companies, come with ideas and start these activities from their point. And fundings will be provided only where necessary. If a company is completely independent and absolutely successful in the international markets, it becomes a little difficult to argue for getting fundings. Here, a short overview. We have for 4 years where the money goes. It's basic fundings into VET, Berufsbildung, into ETH, which is a bit of money. Cantonal universities, universities of applied sciences, you see much less than others. And by the end of the day, with the $500 million in CTI, so little, but actually it's still $500 million in 4 years. So it's about 25 million per year, what the CTI has to work with. And what does CTI provide? Again, it is these 3 pillars in which we shade a little more light now. This is the distribution of the money. It is the know-how and technology transfer very little. It's startup because of, as I said, there is no fundings distributed into the company. It is just support. SCCER, that's everything around the energy transition. It's all these networks providing information on energy generation, and energy distribution. And in 2015, it was more than 160 million going into projects. Projects that companies and research partners perform together. A little more detail on the know-how and technology transfer. The CTI helps making visible both sides, as I said. Both sides, what companies need and what research partners search on, and there is national thematic networks. That's all these kind of activities. It's platforms, IT platforms, where they provide this. And this happens on a face-to-face basis. So you see, for instance, SwissText is one of these activities CTI supports. Bringing everybody together. We saw earlier this morning that there is about half and half research and industrial partners, and that's one of the aims CTI works for. The thematic networks, the information platforms, and last but not least, it's the innovation mentors that help funding projects. I'll spend a little more at the end of the speech on that one. Startup. I said no money distributed. It is that CTI provides courses, education, training on entrepreneurship, assisting also startup companies. There is startup coaches, being present with a company over a period of 18 months or so. They provide a CTI startup label, and if you qualify for that, you get this label, and you get also support to go to investors funding venture capital. So they help you access capital, but they don't give you the capital from the Confederation. Whoops. The very positive on that, if you see that's the startup label, the number of startup labels versus the companies that survived the first 3 years. And it's an 87%. Is that normal? For this, yes, it is. But actually, if you see how many startups come and go, that's very good. So if you want to raise a startup company, it may make sense really to apply for a CTI startup label. It's additional work. It's quite often work you should do to be successful, but you push away because if you think, I should work on a product, and you forget a little on the strategy. So then that's where the startup label or the startup organization helps you. Here is my favorite, the R&D funding, because of the Innovation Mentor works most of the time there. Applications, so remember, a company and a research partner funding a project. There have been, in the last year, more than 900 applications where companies and universities work together and made an application. They go into different faculties. That's more an organizational task at the CTI, how they handle these. Where does the money go? I said CTI will never pay a company. CTI will pay the research facility. So most of the money goes to Mr. Silva. Not in person. In person, no. But most to the universities of applied sciences, because of they are so close to the industry, they need to make part of their budget out of this business, and yes, I can understand. That's the way how CTI wants to be. The process to apply, and that's 5 points. If you are positive with all these 5, you are eligible to probably found a project in this part. A Swiss-based company, typically an SME, an innovative product or service idea. It's not only that you want to develop a new molecule or a new steel or a new software. It sometimes can also be just service-based. And here we come pretty close with text analysis and all the services behind there. You need to have, and that's one of the key points, a solid business plan. You need to know the research landscape, and you need to know the IP landscape. Because of it, it'll never make sense if you start to develop something, you spend money, and by the end of the day, you cannot go live because of a patent or because of somebody other came out with the same product 2 years earlier than you. So that's one of the points you need to shade light on and to know what you are doing. Then one other key point is there is missing scientific background and there is scientific work to be done that you can develop the product. It needs to be so far away from a finished product because of it needs to be scientific. Otherwise, the Swiss tax franc would damage the natural competition where companies are in, and the Confederation will never spend money to challenge or to damage the normal competition. And if you find a Swiss research partner who has these capabilities to develop develop what is missing in this portfolio. Then it is the ingredients that make a good application. Other way, actually sometimes the research partner has the idea what he could develop out of what they are developing or researching, and sometimes the research partners start to find a company that wants to distribute this. So, vice versa. If that is okay, then these two guys go together and they write an application. And that's a very short thing compared to some international applications, and this has a success rate of more than 50%. So normally it ends up at 40, 50 pages. It takes, writing the application takes normally 1 to 2 months. The trace to the experts is one or two more months. So, and sometimes you have to go into an iteration, into a loop. Let's say it takes normally 3 to 5 months from trigger to money. And you have a success rate of 50%. Typically, such projects are between 1 or 200,000 and 1.5 million. So it can end up that you get 100,000 or 500,000 of subsidies to this project. If this application is correct, you send it to the CTI experts. Takes, as I said, about 6 weeks. And afterwards there is quite a bit of administration work you need to do, because of if the confederation pays you out of the tax money, yes, there is something you need to do. Okay, so a little on the finance flows. CTI pays a max of 50% of the total cost. You need to, you as a implementation partner, need to bring the other 50%. This can be money, this can be hours, this can be both, this can be a mixture. But at least 10% of the 50% that CTI pays, 10% of that you need to pay in cash to the research partner. That is just a limitation CTI wants you to fulfill to demonstrate that you are willing to take responsibility. Means that by the end of the day, it can end up as a max of 55% at the research partner and 45% on the industrial partner side. Honestly, 50-50. If you go to 50.0, maybe 94 or 49% would also be a good number. Don't overstretch. So that's the message. The industrial partner needs really to be convinced that he's doing a business afterwards, therefore business plan, etc. So don't overstretch. Again here, a little key points where most of the refused applications struggle. You can read this your own. But here, Mr. Sillivac and Ivy went through different databases and searched for a project a little close to the text analysis, and there's quite a lot of them. So I think you guys are in the right place, and I'll have my desk out here, and if you want to start to write an application, I would help you. So actually that's my job. So you see the keynote here. Yes, it is as it is. We just try to grab together what we found. So interesting. In general, the innovation mentor, as I said, is comes a little out of the industry normally, has a little of connection towards research companies, and I personally have been all my lifetime in SMEs, so that's a little that I know what the industry needs. So that's about it, and I'll be present afterwards. If you have questions, detailed things you don't want to discuss here in the plenum, please come to me, or you find all the information also on the web page. There is 15 innovation mentors all over Switzerland. We are a little local based, and the projects are assigned according to where the industrial partner has the companies. That's all. So thanks a lot.
A short introduction to how to get money. I may add some 2 or 3 words from our experience. First of all, the application process is a little longer than you said. We usually estimate a half a year until we get the first money, because you need to sign it, and in the university it has to go up and down the entire hierarchy, and this takes 4 weeks, at least in our university.
You should accelerate that.
Yes,
okay.
We should. Then second, you did not mention that there is at the moment a special action of CTI because of the strong Swiss franc. I think at the moment, until end of the year, you can apply for a project reduction of the self-part of the industrial partner to 30%.
30-70.
And the cash might be reduced as well.
It might even waived, yes, it might even be waived. If you're smaller than 249 and have more...
Some conditions apply as well. Yes.
Exactly. And the application has to be filed before October 31st.
And after June, but this is definitely now the case.
Yeah, that's the case now.
Okay, and then you said about the applied universities. I think there are a couple of people here from applied universities. Maybe if you are interested in getting in touch with these people, it would be reasonable that you stand up now, the applied universities guys, or universities guys as well, to see who might be interested in projects. Could you just stand up if you're interested in doing research projects? But during the break, you know how to approach if you have some idea, because it's not only us at CTI. Okay, now I welcome some questions.
My question is, as far as we have worked with the CTI project, there is always one problem, which is the technology transfer. In the sense that when we have a project, we can work, develop, implement, and then when we give the product to the industrial partner, we will have difficulties to maintain it, to make it the money. And here the problem is that I feel that the CTI do not finance the technology transfer step, finance step.
So actually, that might be a special problem with the industrial partner. Normally, projects are only funded if you can identify the right level of knowledge, of know-how on both sides. Otherwise, CTI wants the industrial partner to be successful. Otherwise, they do not spend money on it. So there might have been something gone wrong in such cases if the transfer has somewhere missings. So how can you solve this from a university's point? Should they have been accelerating more on their R&D side? Probably, maybe. Quite often there is risk with the business afterwards. If you have solved all the technical things, not each of the projects will afterwards take off this way. There is some risks at the end.
Other questions at the moment? Yeah.
Thank you. So just a quick question. How do you select the experts that will review the CTI applications? And are they international experts too?
Pardon me?
Are they international experts, and how do you select the experts?
That's only Swiss-based because of its Swiss business and Swiss research partners. If you have an additional partner abroad, research partner, you need to have a Swiss partner that covers the most, and only parts of that are paid from this Swiss partner to the external. So it becomes difficult.
No, the question was different.
The experts.
The experts, are they only based in Switzerland, or is it international experts that you
No, it's only Swiss because of the business is Switzerland based. It's only Switzerland based experts.
They are named on the website of CTI.
Yeah.
Any further questions at the moment? Otherwise, you will be outside at your booth and answer questions. Thanks again.
Thanks all.